Welcome to World Wrap, your global news snapshot for Wednesday, June 11th, 2025. Let's take you around the world in under 10 minutes. First, the quick-fire global headlines. The US and China have agreed on a framework to ease trade tensions after high-stakes talks in London conclude. The UK and its allies have sanctioned two far-right Israeli ministers for inciting violence against Palestinians. Greta Thunberg is back in Sweden after her deportation from Israel, accusing authorities of abusive treatment. And China has thanked India for rescuing the crew of a Chinese cargo vessel that caught fire off the coast of Kerala. In South Asia, a new analysis highlights the growing naval dimension of the India-Pakistan rivalry. Following the intense four-day conflict in May, experts note both countries are signaling that their navies could play a central role in any future face-off. This comes as analysts point to Pakistan's increasing use of modern Chinese weapons, including the HQ-9 air defense system and J-10 fighters, which were a factor in the recent clashes. In a sign of goodwill elsewhere, China's government today formally thanked India for rescuing the crew of the Singapore-flagged cargo ship MV Wanhai 503, which caught fire near Kerala on June 9th. In Southeast Asia, a new report from Citibank indicates that US tariffs are causing a surge of Chinese exports to the region. Vietnam, Thailand, and Indonesia are seeing the sharpest increases, raising concerns about trade diversion and the impact of cheaper Chinese goods on local industries, particularly Indonesia's struggling garment sector. In East Asia, Japan and Guatemala have elevated their bilateral relations to a strategic partnership. During a visit by Guatemala's foreign minister to Tokyo, both sides confirmed cooperation on key issues, marking the 90th anniversary of their diplomatic relations. Watch for the APEC finance ministers meeting in October, which will unveil a new 5-year roadmap for regional economic priorities. In a significant development, US and Chinese officials have agreed on a framework to de-escalate trade tensions following 2 days of intense negotiations in London. Both sides say the agreement, which will be presented to Presidents Trump and Xi for approval, will put their trade truce back on track. Chinese Vice Commerce Minister Li Chenggang called the talks professional, rational, and candid. US officials indicated that measures imposed in response to China's slowdown in rare earth exports would likely be eased once supplies of the critical minerals increase. Impact. This framework provides a much-needed sigh of relief for the global economy, which has been shadowed by the trade war. While analysts warn that complex issues remain, the agreement signals a mutual interest in avoiding new tariffs and re-establishing more stable economic relations, boosting Asian stock markets in today's trading. From Ghana, the country's three major telecom operators, MTN, Telecel and Airtel Tigo, have collectively pledged to invest $150 million into network improvements by the end of the year. The move comes amid regulatory pressure to improve service quality, and will be accompanied by an across-the-board increase in mobile data bundle values of up to 15% from July 1st, without a price hike. From Sudan, Doctors Without Borders or MSF, is reporting a deadly measles outbreak fueled by the ongoing war. Chronically low immunization rates and vaccine shortages have led to over 9,950 treated cases, and at least 35 deaths in the Darfur region between June 2024 and May 2025. In Australia, authorities are grappling with the fallout from ongoing violent protests in Los Angeles. The Australian government today issued a travel advisory for the city, as an Australian journalist was shot by US police while covering the riots. This comes as Canada, the United Kingdom, and New Zealand also take measures to sanction Israeli ministers over violence against Palestinians, showing, a coordinated diplomatic front among key Commonwealth nations. Elsewhere, there's growing concern over Greenland's ice melt, which proceeded much faster than average during a May heatwave. The rapid melt has direct implications for sea level rise, a critical threat for low-lying Pacific Island nations. The United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and Norway have jointly imposed sanctions on two of Israel's most prominent far-right ministers. National Security Minister Ben-Gvir and Finance Minister Smotrich face asset freezes and travel bans for what the nations termed inciting violence against Palestinians. Meanwhile, a French doctor who was on the Gaza-bound aid boat with Greta Thunberg has alleged that Israeli authorities were, abusive to the passengers. Upon returning to France, he claimed that while there was no physical violence, he witnessed border agents mock and deliberately deprive the activists of sleep, particularly Thunberg. The Swedish climate activist returned home yesterday after being deported. In Brussels, the European Commission has unveiled a proposed 18th package of sanctions against Russia for its war on Ukraine. The new measures, for the first time, target the Nord Stream 1 and 2 gas pipelines with a ban on all transactions, aiming to end any debate about their future use. The package also proposes adding 22 more Russian banks to the SWIFT cutoff list and lowering the oil price cap to $45 a barrel. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen declared, "Strength is the only language that Russia will understand." In Russia itself, crowds are reportedly flocking to see Lenin's tomb in Moscow ahead of its potential closure for repairs. A moment of reflection on the country's Soviet past. In Argentina, prominent social leader and Peronist militant Juan Grabois was arrested today during a protest against the closure of the Juan Domingo Perón National Institute by President Javier Milei's government. The arrest highlights the growing conflict between the new administration and the country's powerful Peronist political opposition. Former Bolivian President Evo Morales condemned the detention as illegal and abusive. In Colombia, 7 people have been killed in a wave of bombings and gun attacks, adding to the country's security challenges as the government attempts to negotiate peace with various armed groups. In space news, the Axiom 4 mission, which is set to carry India's second astronaut, Shubhanshu Shukla, to space, has been postponed for a 5th time to allow for rocket repairs. And in culture, the Madaba mosaic map, recognized as the oldest surviving cartographic depiction of the Holy Lands and crafted during the reign of Emperor Justinian, is gaining renewed attention from historians and tourists in Jordan. That's World Wrap for Wednesday, June 11th, 2025. Like, follow, and subscribe for your no-noise daily download from around the world. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same globe.